What's up, spectators? Welcome back to another episode of Ace Attorney 6. We finished up the investigation for day 2, and now we are back in court, and Soren's about to give his first testimony. I was stabbed by Dumas in the reception hall, and I collapsed to the floor. The next thing I saw was Ellen and Dumas on the Vista deck. I knew Ellen was in danger, so I headed for the Vista deck. But when I got there, Dumas was already. I don't want to believe it, but it must have been Ellen. Nothing else makes sense. Wait just a minute here. You actually think Miss Wyatt killed the victim? That's right. Dumas was killed by Ellen. This is unbelievable. How could you suspect your bride, the woman you love?
Objection!
The truth can be cruel. Miss Wyatt, you must be very upset. Is there anything you wish to say? That's a new face? I can't believe this. I thought that at least you would believe in me. The best way now to show your love for your groom is to admit your guilt and try to atone. So insensitive.
Hold it!
Mr. Edgeworth, I haven't even cross-examined the witness yet. And quit picking on the clearly distraught. Yeah! That's not cool! A court's where we seek the truth. And pick on people, I guess. And the truth is unyielding even to the truly pitiful. Mr. Edgeworth. I find it distasteful to make a lady cry. So what are you going to do, Nick? If the third person Ellen saw on the Vista deck was Soren, then we have to prove Soren was there at the time of the murder. I don't see any obvious inconsistencies in his testimony, but we have to push forward.
Hold it!
Please tell me everything you can about when you got stabbed. After the reception, Ellen and I were enjoying a moment alone in the reception hall. Then Dumas appeared and stabbed me. He grabbed Ellen and the timekeeper and left the reception hall. Did Mr. Gloomsbury say anything at that time? I don't remember. After I was stabbed, I was immobilized by the pain. I see. The next thing I saw was Ellen and Dumas on the Vista deck.
Hold it!
The Vista deck. But it was nighttime then. Could you really see them in the darkness? The moon was out, so I could see them clearly. From the looks of it, Dumas was trying to push Ellen and the timekeeper off the side. So, you saw the defendant. About to be thrown off the airship, you say? That's right. In such a desperate situation, it would only be natural for her to fight for her life. And the murder weapon was right there within her grasp. This isn't going well at all. I gotta do something fast.
Hold it!
I understand that your bride was in danger, but were you really able to move with a stab wound to the gut? I was desperately trying to push the pain out of my mind. I see. So adrenaline kicked in and gave you strength. Is that right? I don't see much of anything in this statement I can refute. That's right. I almost passed out several times as I made my way to the Vista deck.
Hold it!
Are you absolutely sure, Mr. Sprocket, that by the time you got to the Vista deck, the murder had already been committed? Yes. But the Vista deck is just on the other side of the glass windows in the reception hall. Shouldn't you have been able to get there right away?
Objection!
Mr. Wright, have you investigated nothing? The only way to the Vista deck is to go to the hold and take the lift. No matter how much one hurries, it would take at least 10 minutes. Well, that's unhelpful. But Soren had to have gotten there before the murderer, or my claim won't stand. Do you have any ideas for me, Maya? It's definitely easier to prove that someone did go to the hold than not. I mean, you can't leave anything if you don't go someplace, right? I think Maya's onto something here. The lack of a certain something actually proves that Soren didn't go to the hold. What's the matter? Are you stumped already? No, I'm far more stumped, Mr. Edgeworth. Well, far from. I know for a fact that Mr. Sprocket didn't go to the hold. You and your paper-thin bluffs. Mr. Sprocket's bloodstain on the lift proves he went through the hold. So what possible proof could you have had that he did not in fact go through there? You want proof? You got it! There's gotta be proof that Soren didn't go through the hold. Well, Mr. Wright? This proves that Mr. Sprocket didn't do it. Now, where is the... No... Ah, there it is.
Take that!
As anyone can see from the hold entry record, there's absolutely no mention of Soren Sprocket entering the hold. The defense asserts that Mr. Sprocket used a different route to get to the Vista deck. You can assert all you want, Mr. Wright, but can you actually prove another route exists? I can prove it! Even if it's just a bluff, I have to present something. Anything that can prove the existence of a faster route to the Vista deck. Very well then, Mr. Wright. And you know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking it's that escape hatch! Oh, okay, awesome. Here, yes.
Take that!
To save his bride from danger, Mr. Sprocket opened the escape hatch and made his way along the outside wall to the Vista deck. Isn't that right, Mr. Sprocket? That would certainly be a much faster route to the Vista deck.
Objection!
I'm disappointed, Mr. Wright. Is that really the best you can muster? That escape hatch is not meant to be used to get from the reception hall to the Vista deck. One slip and that's all it would take for Mr. Sprocket to plunge to his death. I have to agree. The defense's claim is really stretching it.
Hold it!
I understand how it sounds, Your Honor. But at this point, it's too early to definitively say that he didn't go that way. So that's what you're going with then, I take it. Of course, Your Honor. This is real life, Mr. Wright, not some cinematic drivel or comic book. Do you have some sort of logical explanation to share that would convince us of your claim? I do. Are you sure, Nick? Kind of? Actually, I have nothing. So I'll just have to wing it somehow. On what do you base your theory that Mr. Sprocket made his way along the outside? The power of love! To save the bride he loves, the groom risked his life and rushed to her side. Mr. Sprocket was able to make it to the Vista deck despite the danger. Because of the power of love. The power of love! That love is a source of strength that can help one overcome any obstacle. I think I can relate thanks to my own long, happy marriage. He actually seems to be buying it.
Objection!
What an idiot! The power of love, you say? That kind of illogical argument is hardly viable in a court of law. Wouldn't you agree, Your Honor? I'm afraid not, Mr. Edgeworth. You should never underestimate the power of love. You'll understand one day, which I won't. Exactly what is so wrong with wishing to remain unwed? Way to set him off, Your Honor. Never mind all this unscientific nonsense. Are you aware, Mr. Wright, that at the time of the crime, There was a huge propeller turning at full speed between the hatch and the Vista deck. Even if a person were to go outside through the hatch. They'd be blown away in an instant. Where does your power of love get you now, Mr. Wright? A huge spinning propeller, you say? In that case, I have to admit it does seem impossible. I should have known. Nick, you can't make that kind of face in front of your client. The worst are times when it... Yes. I feel like I just saw Mia looking out at me through Maya's eyes. What's wrong, Nick? Why are you gaping at me like a giant sunfish? Thanks, Maya. You just helped me remember something really important. There it is. There's that fearless smile I was looking for. Now give us a mind-blowing theory, just like you always do. I have to turn my thinking around. Instead of wondering how Soren could have moved past that huge propeller, I have to think about what would have made it possible for him to do so. Your Honor, Mr. Wright only makes that ridiculous face when his back is pressed against a wall. Therefore, please do hurry and... Oh. Mr. Edgeworth. It's still far too early to discount my theory. What are you talking about? The airship's large spinning propellers have already shredded it to pieces. But if we think a little more outside the box, I'm sure we can find a way he could have made it. Stop trying to stall, Mr. Wright, and show us how it could have been even remotely possible, if at all. I must agree with Mr. Edgeworth. Very well, Your Honor. There must have been a way. Some way that Soren could have moved along the wall in spite of the propeller. Now then, Mr. Wright, what specifically would have made it possible? This is how it would have been possible for Mr. Sprocket to get to the Vista deck. No! Oh, no. Yes. I understand that we're going back to the original argument. I guess it could have been on the ground. What allowed Mr. Sprocket to go along the outside wall in spite of the propellers? Is the location of the flying chapel at the time of the crime. But wasn't it flying high in the sky? No, Your Honor. I'm afraid it wasn't. Then where was it? At the time of the murder, the airship wasn't flying through the sky, but moored to the ground. And if the airship wasn't flying, then that means the propellers weren't turning. In which case, Mr. Sprocket could have gotten to the Vista deck along the outside wall. Isn't that right, Mr. Sprocket? I don't remember. He stabbed himself with his pencil. That's gonna leave a mark.
Objection!
Even if the propellers weren't turning, it would have been far too risky to go that way. But, Mr. Edgeworth, you're forgetting about the power of love. Yes, the amazing power of love. Not this again. Very well, for the sake of argument, let's assume this so-called power of love made it possible for Mr. Sprocket to move along the outside wall of the airship. Can you prove that the airship was tied to the ground as you claim? Well, I don't have any evidence that proves where the airship was at the time. You can prove it, can't you? Maya, can you think of anything we could use to prove it? Can't say I can. Oh, wait! Didn't somebody see something outside a window at the time of the crime? I think I remember someone saying as much. Do I have a piece of evidence that shows what was outside the airship? What are you waiting for? This piece of evidence shows what was outside. Yes, where is it?
Take that!
This piece of evidence shows what was outside the airship at the time of the murder. What kind of lousy drawing is that? It's a drawing made by Larry Butts. And what can you prove with that poor attempt at artistry? Larry made this drawing before he switched the lanterns, so it must have been right around when the murder was being committed. Now, if I could direct the court's attention here... Is that a pterodactyl? Does that mean that the airship actually went back in time to the Cretaceous period?
Objection!
Nailed it, Judge. You got it. We've already proven that time travel is nothing more than a gimmick, did we not? We did, and I have no intention of bringing up that argument again. But this drawing shows us an important piece of information. It shows us that the airship was actually moored on the ground. And what makes you so sure? That's easy. All you have to do is consider who made this drawing. Larry. That's right. It was Mr. Butts, and we both know what he's like. He must have seen something else and mistaken it for a pterodactyl. I can't argue with you there. Wait just one doggone second here. What kind of moron do you guys take me for? I saw with my own eyes. A pterodactyl flew right by the window, I tell you. I have the sharp eyes of an artist, don't you believe me? No. Nope. Some friends you guys are. What about the judge? You believe me, right, Your Honor? I'm sorry, but I'm afraid you need to leave this courtroom. Bailiff, if you would. Come on, buddy, let's go. Why doesn't anyone believe me? Don't take it personally, Larry. I know you're just being... you. Now then, so you're saying that what Mr. Butts really saw bears some relation to what was outside the airship at the time of the murder? Yes, Your Honor. At least, I think it does. What this pterodactyl really is will prove the airship was anchored to the mooring dock. It had better, anyway. If it doesn't, my whole argument is a bust. If you're that confident about it, then please go ahead and tell us what it really was. Yes, Your Honor. What could that pterodactyl have actually been? Oh!
Take that!
Please take a good look at the sign. It appears to have been broken and then repaired. But what does this sign have to do with the pterodactyl? Please focus on this part of the sign. The part that broke off and got reattached? What about it? How about if we turn it like this? That shape! It's the pterodactyl in the drawing. Wow, he nailed it. Good job, Larry. What Mr. Butts actually saw was this chunk as it was being blown through the air by wind. On the day of the murder, there was some heavy winds in the area of the mooring dock. But it's hard to imagine that this sign would make it up as high as an airship would fly. That means the flying chapel must have been anchored at the mooring dock that night. Isn't that right, Mr. Sprocket?
Objection!
That's more than enough of this power of love nonsense, you pop culture junkie. Present all the proof you want, but your argument is based far too much in conjecture. Why don't we return to reality now? What do you mean, too much conjecture? Even if the airship wasn't flying, that alone doesn't prove the witness went along the wall. True. Even now it's no more than a possibility. Then how do you propose Mr. Sprocket got to the Vista deck, Mr. Edgeworth? I noticed something as I went over the evidence. Please take a look at this hold entry record. What about it? I don't see Mr. Sprocket listed on here anywhere. Don't you remember? In yesterday's session, we had a very similar kind of argument. Honestly, Mr. Wright, are you going senile already? We talked about Larry Butts using the defendant's keycard to enter the hold. We did talk about that, didn't we? In other words, even if a person's name isn't on the entry record, it's still possible for that person to have entered by using someone else's card. Mr. Sprocket, you entered the hold with Mr. Nichity, didn't you? I did. Why didn't you tell us that in the first place? Pierce is indispensable. I didn't want to mention him unnecessarily and risk having him wrongly accused. I couldn't do without him. Mr. Sprocket, I ask that you testify in greater detail about your movements that night. And forgive your perjury, I guess. Bunch of nonsense. But I'm gonna end this video here. So stay tuned for the next episode, and thanks for watching.